Before 1997, it had been mostly underground alternative music fans and critics that were talking about Radiohead. The group's first two albums, 1993's Pablo Honey and its successor, 1995's The Bends, had been critically acclaimed from their release, but they still needed a bigger hint of mainstream attraction and attention. That all changed on May 21st, 1997, when Radiohead released their groundbreaking, landmark rock recording, OK Computer. Today, we're going to take a look at it. It has certainly been a little while, hasn't it? It's been about 2 weeks since I last posted a video over here on GMT Reviews, and with that, I would like to apologize, as things have just been very hectic in my personal life and have really drawn me away from YouTube and everything else that I do. So, now that everything's starting to settle down, I figure I can finally get back into everything. And, to mark my return back, I figured, why not review something that people will actually like? Because I will be totally honest with you. Part of the whole thing with my last couple of reviews is I am definitely trying to move away from more of the unknown records. I'm trying to move something towards some of the more well-known albums to start off with, and maybe delve into the lesser-known things in the future, just to pace myself. So I figure I might as well just go ahead and get started with something that I know a lot of people are going to enjoy, and that is Radiohead. More specifically, their 1997 seminal landmark recording, OK Computer. This album, there's really not much that can be said about it that has not already been said. It changed the landscape for music to come for now counting over 21 years. Released on May 21st, 1997, the album predicted and almost creepily laid out the climate and the overtones of the 21st century and the burgeoning new forms of technology that would overtake the beginning of the millennium. It's incredibly crazy to think that this album can be seen as a little bit of, maybe not as visibly, but definitely can be seen as some sort of well-hidden prophet of the things that were to come in the future. The album itself is very bleak. It's depressing, which is not something that Radiohead likes to be called about their music, as they do not believe in the fact that music can be depressing. They believe in the fact that it can be a form of expression and art. And I kind of agree with that, actually. However, there's no denying that this album has a very depressing overtone, and it's very visible from the way this album is laid out. Some of the tracks on here, like Subterranean Homesick Alien, which details basically a future with aliens, obviously, that also yearn for a better life than they already have. It's probably my favorite track on the album without any hesitation, besides track 5, which is Let Down. It's okay, I'm so sorry for fumbling over my words. But there are so many tracks on this album that are so unique and strange that I just cannot come up with words for them. It's very hard to describe some of the songs on this album, and some are definitely easier than others. Some of these songs that I can easily describe for you include the second track and one of the singles, Paranoid Android. One of my other favorite tracks on the album. This is basically Radiohead's form of Bohemian Rhapsody, which in my definition of that terminology, whenever I refer to songs like this, when someone has their own Bohemian Rhapsody, named after the Queen song obviously, it is a track that has multiple segments in it. However, these segments are different than each other segment in the song and follow a conceptual pace. Some other examples of these tracks are Tool's Lateralis, and Tool's Third Eye actually would come to mind as well, and Rosetta Stone. However, I definitely see Paranoid Android as being Radiohead's example of that, as it's very much like a condensed movie almost in a song, a 6-minute song. It's probably one of their most epic tracks they've ever put out, and that's saying a lot, because Radiohead has put out some freaking epic songs. and some I might agree with more than others, but we don't need to talk about that right now. We'll talk about that when the time comes. This is not a concept album, although it can definitely be seen as one if you have the better mindset for it. It's not an obvious concept album unless you really listen to it. From your first listen, it might sound a little strange, it might sound a little unorthodox, and it might even sound a bit unlikable. However, this record, as a whole, is the groundwork for what a lot of rock bands nowadays are. OK Computer is not your traditional rock album. Sure, it sounds like a traditional rock album, but it most certainly is not. It does not follow the typical structure of a rock album, and like I said, it's a little bit like a non-linear concept album, however some tracks don't connect to it. It's, again, really hard to put into words, because when you're tackling albums like OK Computer and Loveless, it's a little hard to talk about something that has not already been said, and it doesn't sound like you're repeating other people's words or even yourself, like I'm kind of doing right now. I'm not trying to push for time boundaries, I'm just wondering what I can even say to this album besides the fact that it's such a mind-blowing piece of art. Yes, I even said that. This is an artful album. I'm admittedly a little speechless. This is an album that does not really give me a lot of room to think, because it just blows my mind that something like this can actually be created. And I'm not saying that to try to sound cool or artistic or anything like that. I'm saying that with a genuine conviction. I personally do believe this album is one of the most interesting and well done records in history. The way that it's composed, the way that the songs are played, the themes of the album and its songs. It's incredible to think that an album like this even exists. This is not, in my opinion, the definitive Radiohead album. Well, okay, maybe it's their definitive, but it's certainly not my favorite. But this is definitely their cornerstone of just masterwork, and everything else afterwards you can tell was dripping from the remnants of OK Computer. With that, I give Radiohead's OK Computer a 9 out of 10 for being one of the most interesting and well-structured rock albums I've ever heard in my entire life. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. It's greatly appreciated. Hope you guys enjoyed the review. If you've already heard this album, what do you think of it? If you haven't heard it, I highly suggest you give it a listen. If you want to leave some suggestions for reviews for me in the comments, please feel free to do so. Do not forget to like, comment, subscribe. If you don't want to, that's quite fine by me. I'll see you guys in the next review. Take care.